Keanu Reeves was born into a world that was not simple. His life story begins in Beirut, Lebanon, in 1964. His mother was English, and his father was Hawaiian with Chinese and Portuguese roots. At first, it looked like a happy family, but things soon became difficult. His father left when Keanu was very young, leaving behind pain and emptiness in the small family. His mother worked hard to take care of him and his sister, moving from place to place in search of a better life. This constant movement gave Keanu a sense of instability, but it also taught him how to adapt and remain calm in new surroundings. He spent his early years in different countries before the family finally settled in Toronto, Canada. In Toronto, young Keanu grew up with a quiet personality. He was not like other children who always wanted to be loud or the center of attention. Instead, he was more thoughtful, always watching, always listening. School was not easy for him. He struggled with dyslexia, which made reading and learning harder. Teachers often misunderstood him, thinking he was not focused. But deep inside, Keanu had a mind full of creativity, curiosity, and a longing to do something meaningful. Sports became an outlet for him. He fell in love with hockey, where he played as a goalie. On the ice, he found freedom, speed, and excitement. His friends even called him the Wall because he was so good at stopping the puck. For a time, Keanu even dreamed of becoming a professional hockey player. But life has a way of pushing people toward unexpected paths. Keanu's love for storytelling and performance slowly grew. At school, he was drawn to acting, where he could step into different roles and forget the challenges he faced in real life. He enjoyed the stage because it gave him a voice, a place to express emotions that were often hidden behind his quiet nature. Even though he was shy, acting gave him confidence. His teachers noticed this talent and encouraged him to explore it further. He began participating in small plays and local theater projects, and little by little, acting became more than just a hobby, it became his passion. Behind the scenes, though, Keanu's family life remained complex. His mother worked in the entertainment industry as a costume designer, which meant he often met artists, musicians, and creative people at home. This exposure widened his imagination and gave him a deeper interest in the arts. At the same time, the absence of his father remained a shadow in his life. Keanu rarely spoke about it, but the broken relationship shaped his emotional world. He carried questions and feelings of loss that never truly left him. Yet instead of letting this turn him bitter, Keanu found ways to transform pain into strength. In his teenage years, Keanu faced more challenges with school. Because of his struggles with dyslexia and his restless spirit, he moved through several high schools. He was never the type to fit in neatly, and the system never seemed designed for someone like him. Finally, he decided to leave school before graduation, choosing instead to follow a path that felt more natural to him: acting. For many, dropping out of school would seem like failure, but for Keanu, it was the beginning of a new journey. He took on small acting jobs, commercials, and stage performances, slowly building his skills. What made Keanu stand out during this time was his determination. He was not the most polished actor, and he did not come from a powerful background. But he had a sincerity that people noticed. His presence was unique, quiet yet magnetic. Casting directors saw something in him, a natural honesty that made his performances believable. He carried himself with humility, which made others feel comfortable around him. This early period of his life showed a boy becoming a man, guided not by fame or money, but by the simple desire to do something meaningful with his life. At home, Keanu's bond with his sister was also very important. She was his closest friend and supporter during those uncertain years. They shared the struggles of growing up without a stable family and leaned on each other for strength. This deep sense of loyalty and family love would remain one of the most important values in Keanu's life, influencing how he treated others as he grew older. He always carried with him the lessons of love, loss, and responsibility that came from those early days. In Toronto, Keanu also explored music. He loved playing the bass guitar, and music gave him another way to release emotions. He joined small bands and spent time experimenting with sounds, balancing his love for both acting and music. These experiences gave him a creative balance and kept him connected to the arts in more than one way. Music taught him rhythm, patience, and the importance of listening, qualities that later helped him in his acting career as well. By the time he reached adulthood, Keanu had already faced more struggles than many people twice his age. A missing father, constant moves, school difficulties, and the feeling of not fitting in could have broken his spirit. But instead, they shaped him into someone resilient. He was not a loud fighter, but a quiet one. He learned to keep going, no matter how many times life pushed him back. This ability to endure hardship with grace would become one of his strongest qualities, admired by fans all around the world in the years to come. When Keanu finally decided to step fully into acting, it was not with the goal of becoming a star. He simply wanted to do the work, to tell stories, and to live through characters. This humble approach was rare in an industry filled with ambition and ego. But it was exactly this honesty that would later set him apart. Audiences could feel that he was real, that he brought pieces of his true self into every role. Even before Hollywood noticed him, Keanu was already building the foundation of a career that would last for decades. Looking back at these early years, it becomes clear why people later called him Hollywood's last good man. His kindness and humility were not created by fame, they were shaped by the difficulties of his youth. Every loss, every struggle, every challenge added layers to his personality. The boy who once dreamed of becoming a hockey player was slowly being prepared for a much greater stage, one where millions would know his name, not just as an actor, but as a man whose life story touched hearts around the world. Keanu's decision to leave school and follow acting was not an easy one, but it was the turning point of his life. In Toronto, he started small. He took part in local theater shows, small commercials, and even appeared in a few short films. His charm was not in being loud or showing off, but in being real. People who worked with him noticed that he brought honesty into every role. He did not act to impress, he acted to tell the truth of the character. This sincerity slowly began to open doors for him. His first real break came when he moved to Los Angeles to chase bigger opportunities. At that time, Hollywood was full of young faces trying to become famous. Many of them came from rich families, or they had strong networks, but Keanu did not. He arrived with little money, a quiet personality, and a big dream. He lived simply, sometimes sharing apartments, eating basic meals, and riding his motorcycle through the city. What kept him going was not luxury or comfort, but the belief that he had something meaningful to offer through acting. In the mid-1980s, Keanu began landing roles in films that gave him recognition. One of the first was River's Edge in 1986, a dark drama about troubled teenagers. Keanu played the role with such authenticity that critics noticed him. They said he had a natural way of connecting with the audience, making them feel like they were watching a real person instead of a performer. This film was not a blockbuster, but it was a signal: Keanu Reeves had arrived. Soon after, he took on a role that would forever mark his career: Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. The movie, released in 1989, was light-hearted, funny, and aimed at teenagers. Keanu played Ted, a goofy but lovable character who, along with his friend Bill, traveled through time in a phone booth. The film was a surprise hit. Audiences fell in love with his easygoing charm, and suddenly, Keanu became a star among young fans. People began to see him not just as an actor but as a cultural symbol of the late 1980s. Yet even as fame knocked on his door, Keanu remained different. He did not run after attention, parties, or glamour. Instead, he stayed humble. While other young stars were making headlines for their wild lifestyles, Keanu was often seen riding his motorcycle alone, reading books, or playing bass guitar with his band. He was famous, but he did not let fame control him. This calm approach made him even more interesting to fans. He was relatable, a star who lived like a normal person. The 1990s brought Keanu's career to a new level. He starred in Point Break in 1991 alongside Patrick Swayze, playing an undercover FBI agent who gets caught up with a group of surfers. The film became a cult classic, and Keanu's role as Johnny Utah showed his ability to handle action roles with intensity and heart. Not long after, in 1994, came another major turning point, Speed. Acting alongside Sandra Bullock, Keanu played a brave police officer trying to stop a bomb on a speeding bus. The film was a worldwide success, making Keanu a household name. He was no longer just the goofy Ted, he was now an action hero. What made Keanu's rise special was that he never changed who he was. After Speed, he could have chosen any big-budget film and demanded millions, but he was selective. He did not chase money blindly. Sometimes he even turned down major roles because he did not feel connected to the script. This shocked Hollywood, where most actors were driven by fame and paychecks. For Keanu, it was always about the art, not the reward. During this time, his personal relationships in the film industry also shaped him. One of the closest bonds he formed was with actor River Phoenix. The two became best friends, supporting each other in both work and personal life. They starred together in the film My Own Private Idaho in 1991, a project that became very meaningful for Keanu. River was like a brother to him, and their friendship was filled with respect and love. Sadly, this bond would also bring one of the biggest heartbreaks of Keanu's life, but at this stage, it gave him hope and joy. Keanu's band, Dogstar, also became an important part of his journey in the 1990s. Even though he was already a rising Hollywood star, he continued to tour and play music with his friends. Many critics mocked him for being a celebrity in a band, but Keanu did not care. Music was not about fame, it was about passion. He enjoyed being on stage, not as Keanu Reeves the actor, but as a musician sharing simple moments with fans. Another striking quality during this period was his kindness to people around him. There were stories of him helping crew members on film sets, carrying equipment, or sharing meals with them as equals. He was not the type to demand special treatment. Instead, he treated everyone with respect, whether they were a director, a co-star, or a technician. These little acts of humility built his reputation as one of the kindest men in Hollywood. By the late 1990s, Keanu was already a recognized figure worldwide. But then came the role that would redefine his career forever, The Matrix in 1999. The film was groundbreaking, mixing action, philosophy, and technology in a way no one had seen before. Keanu's role as Neo, the chosen one who discovers the truth about reality, made him a global superstar. The film did not just earn money, it changed cinema itself. Special effects like bullet time became legendary, and Keanu's calm yet powerful performance turned him into an icon. Despite the success, Keanu continued to live a life of simplicity. While other stars were buying mansions and expensive cars, Keanu was often spotted in modest apartments, riding the subway, or eating at small diners. He believed in enjoying life in the simplest ways, and this made his fans admire him even more. His generosity also became more visible. Stories began to spread about him giving away millions of dollars from his Matrix earnings to the special effects and makeup teams, because he believed they deserved recognition. Through all of this, what stood out was his balance. Keanu had reached the top of Hollywood, starring in blockbuster films and being loved by millions, but he carried himself with the same quiet humility as when he was just starting out. Fame had not changed him. He was proof that success does not need to turn someone arrogant or selfish. Instead, he showed that one could rise high and still remain grounded. This part of his life, his rise to fame, his transformation from a struggling actor to a Hollywood icon, was filled with achievements, but it was also shaped by his personal choices. Keanu showed the world that it was possible to succeed without losing one's soul. He proved that being good, kind, and true to oneself could shine brighter than any spotlight. As he entered the next chapter of his journey, filled with both glory and tragedy, his story became more than just about an actor. It became about a man who carried grace in every step, no matter how heavy the road ahead would be. Keanu Reeves had reached the height of Hollywood success with The Matrix. His face was everywhere, his name was known around the globe, and his future looked brighter than ever. But behind the fame and the flashing lights, his personal life was filled with pain and heartbreak. While the world saw him as a superstar, Keanu was carrying heavy burdens that few could imagine. His story in this stage of life is not only about movies but about deep personal loss that shaped him into the man people respect today. One of the first tragedies came with the loss of his closest friend, River Phoenix. Keanu and River had shared a bond like brothers. They had worked together on My Own Private Idaho, and off-screen, they were inseparable. River was talented, kind, and full of life. Keanu admired him greatly. But in 1993, River's life was cut short at just 23 years old. The sudden loss shook Keanu deeply. He rarely spoke about it publicly, but those close to him said he was never the same again. Losing River reminded him how fragile life can be. It also left a hole in his heart that time could never truly heal. As if this loss was not enough, a few years later Keanu faced even more painful experiences. In the late 1990s, he met Jennifer Syme, a young woman who worked in the entertainment industry. They fell in love, and for the first time, Keanu began to think about starting a family. Jennifer became pregnant, and together they prepared to welcome their daughter. Keanu was excited about becoming a father. He looked forward to holding his baby girl, giving her the love and stability he himself had missed growing up. But just weeks before the baby was due, tragedy struck again. Their daughter was stillborn. The grief was overwhelming. Keanu and Jennifer were devastated, and their relationship slowly began to break under the weight of such sadness. Keanu kept going with his work, hiding much of his sorrow from the public. But those who looked closely could see the pain in his eyes. He had always been quiet and humble, but now there was a deep sadness in his presence. He threw himself into his acting, perhaps as a way to escape the reality of his personal losses. At the same time, he never lost his kindness toward others. Even while suffering, he still treated people with respect and care, proving that his struggles did not turn him bitter. Then came another heartbreaking blow. In 2001, Jennifer Syme died in a car accident. She was only 28 years old. For Keanu, this was an unimaginable loss. Not only had he lost his daughter, but now he had lost Jennifer too. The double tragedy left him shattered. Again, he did not speak much about it in public, but he carried the grief quietly. Friends described him as someone who often preferred solitude, spending time riding his motorcycle or sitting alone with his thoughts. He did not hide from the world, but he kept his personal pain private. While these tragedies could have broken anyone completely, Keanu found a way to keep moving forward. He once said in an interview, "Grief changes shape, but it never ends." These words showed how he lived with his pain, not by pretending it didn't exist, but by learning to carry it with him. This strength made him even more admired. Fans saw him not only as an actor but as a human being who endured suffering with grace and humility. Despite the sadness, Keanu continued to work. The Matrix sequels were filmed during this time, and although he was going through heartbreak, he remained professional and dedicated on set. What amazed people around him was how generous he was. He gave away millions from his salary to the behind-the-scenes teams, such as the costume designers and special effects crews, because he believed they deserved to share in the film's success. This act of kindness was not for attention. He never advertised it. It was simply his nature. Keanu also became known for his everyday acts of generosity. Stories began to surface about him giving up his seat on the subway, buying meals for strangers, or quietly donating money to children's hospitals and cancer research. He did all of this without cameras or press. For him, kindness was not a performance, it was a way of life. His personal losses seemed to make him even more compassionate, as if he wanted to give to others what he himself had lost. During this time, he also built a reputation as one of the most grounded stars in Hollywood. While many actors surrounded themselves with luxury, Keanu often lived simply. He was seen eating lunch alone at parks, chatting with homeless people on the street, and wearing the same worn-out clothes without caring about fashion trends. Fans who met him said he was approachable, polite, and soft-spoken. Unlike many celebrities, he never acted superior to anyone. This made people admire him even more, calling him Hollywood's good man. His personal tragedies also influenced the kind of roles he chose. Keanu was drawn to characters who carried pain, who struggled but found the strength to keep going. In films like the Matrix sequels, his performance as Neo carried more emotional weight, perhaps because it reflected his own inner battles. Later, roles like John Wick, a man grieving the loss of his wife and dog, resonated so strongly with audiences partly because Keanu brought real emotion to the character. His own life gave depth to his acting in ways no training could. Though Keanu rarely talked about his private losses, when he did, his words were filled with honesty. He admitted that life had been hard, that he carried grief every day. But instead of letting it consume him, he chose to live with gratitude for the moments he still had. He found joy in small things: riding his bike, playing music, spending time with his sister, and making movies that inspired people. He never claimed to have all the answers, but his quiet resilience gave hope to others facing their own struggles. By the early 2000s, Keanu's career had weathered ups and downs, but his reputation as a kind and genuine person had only grown stronger. He had faced the kind of tragedies that could destroy a person's spirit, yet he continued to shine. His story became not just about fame or movies but about survival, kindness, and humanity. He showed the world that even when life delivers unimaginable pain, it is possible to keep going with grace. This chapter of Keanu's life was filled with heartbreak, but it also revealed his true strength. Fame had given him success, but tragedy had given him depth. Instead of letting grief harden him, he let it shape him into a man of compassion. Fans all over the world connected with him not only because of his movies but because of his humanity. Keanu Reeves was not just a star on the screen, he was a reminder that kindness and humility could shine even through the darkest times. When The Matrix was released in 1999, it changed everything for Keanu Reeves. The movie was not only a box office success but also a cultural revolution. People all over the world were amazed by its story, its action, and the unforgettable special effects. Keanu's character, Neo, became a symbol of courage, choice, and belief in oneself. For Keanu, it was more than just a role, it was the kind of part every actor dreams of. Yet, what made the story even more powerful was the way Keanu handled the success that followed. While other stars demanded higher paychecks and luxurious treatment after such success, Keanu showed the world his unique character. It is well known that he gave away a large portion of his Matrix earnings, sharing millions of dollars with the visual effects and costume design teams. His reason was simple: he believed they were the real heroes who made the movie what it was. Without their creativity and hard work, the film could not have reached the same greatness. These quiet acts of generosity made headlines years later, but at the time, Keanu never bragged about them. He simply did what he thought was right. On the set of The Matrix and its sequels, Keanu became a role model for professionalism. Crew members shared stories of how he treated everyone equally. He would sit with stuntmen during breaks, laugh with makeup artists, and even help carry equipment. There was no barrier between star and worker in his eyes. He respected everyone. When his stunt team worked hard to make dangerous scenes look real, he thanked them personally and even bought them expensive gifts, like Harley-Davidson motorcycles. These gestures were not about showing off wealth but about showing gratitude. At the same time, Keanu's life outside of the movies remained simple. Unlike many celebrities who filled gossip magazines, Keanu avoided the spotlight whenever possible. He was often spotted riding the subway in New York, quietly sitting among everyday people. Sometimes, fans would record him giving up his seat to strangers, and the videos would go viral. In restaurants, he ate modest meals, often alone, without the security or entourage that many stars demanded. He still loved motorcycles, often riding through the streets with his helmet on, blending in with the crowd. Fame never consumed him. But while his generosity and humility were admired, Keanu's personal grief still followed him. After the tragic loss of his daughter and Jennifer Syme, his heart carried a sadness that he rarely showed in public. Instead, he poured his energy into his work. During the years of filming the Matrix sequels, he was carrying pain inside, but on screen, he delivered performances full of strength and determination. This ability to transform his suffering into art gave his characters a depth that audiences could feel. When Neo struggled to make choices and carried the weight of responsibility, many believed Keanu was drawing from his own life experiences. As the 2000s continued, Keanu worked on a variety of films. Some were successful, others were not. He starred in dramas, comedies, and action movies, always exploring different sides of storytelling. Films like Constantine and The Lake House showed his versatility, even though not every project became a box office hit. But through successes and failures, Keanu stayed consistent. He did not chase trends or let critics define his worth. Instead, he focused on doing work that mattered to him. During this time, more and more stories of his quiet kindness began to surface. One story described how Keanu once overheard a set worker talking about financial struggles. Without saying a word, he arranged a bonus payment to support the worker. Another story told of him buying coffee and breakfast for an entire movie crew just to thank them for their hard work. These small but powerful acts of humanity built his reputation far beyond Hollywood. To fans, Keanu was not just an actor. He was proof that a person could be successful, wealthy, and admired while still being humble and caring. His generosity was not limited to people around him. Keanu also gave millions to children's hospitals and cancer research, inspired by his sister's fight with leukemia years earlier. What made his donations remarkable was the way he did them quietly, without attaching his name. Unlike many celebrities who used charity for publicity, Keanu never wanted attention. He believed helping others should be about the act itself, not about personal glory. This sincerity made people trust him even more. In interviews, when asked about fame or money, Keanu often gave simple answers. He admitted that wealth could make life easier, but it could not buy happiness. For him, happiness came from small things: a good meal, a ride on his motorcycle, time with friends, and meaningful work. He once said, "I know the joy of simple things." That sentence reflected his life philosophy. Despite having access to all the luxuries in the world, Keanu chose simplicity, showing that true fulfillment comes from within. The early 2010s brought another surprising turn in his career. After years of ups and downs, Keanu returned to the spotlight with John Wick in 2014. The film was about a retired assassin mourning the death of his wife and seeking justice after losing his dog. The story of grief and love touched people deeply, and Keanu's performance was praised worldwide. Audiences felt the raw emotion he brought to the role, believing he drew from his own life experiences of loss. The film became a major success, and Keanu found himself at the center of another blockbuster franchise. What stood out in John Wick was not just the action but the emotion. Keanu's ability to make audiences believe in the pain and love of his character made the story powerful. The film also revived his career in a new way, proving that even after decades in Hollywood, he could still surprise and inspire. Just like with The Matrix, Keanu gave credit to his stunt team, ensuring they received recognition. He trained tirelessly alongside them, respecting their craft and calling them his partners rather than subordinates. By this stage, Keanu Reeves was more than an actor, he had become a symbol. The internet began calling him the internet's boyfriend, celebrating his kindness, humility, and down-to-earth lifestyle. Memes of him sitting alone on a bench eating a sandwich, often called Sad Keanu, spread worldwide, showing how people related to his quiet, thoughtful nature. But rather than being offended, Keanu accepted the attention with good humor. He once said, "Sometimes people see me sitting and think I look sad, but I'm just thinking." His honesty only made people love him more. Through all these years, Keanu's legacy was being shaped not only by his movies but also by his values. He reminded the world that true greatness is not about wealth, awards, or fame. It is about kindness, generosity, and authenticity. His life showed that even in the competitive and often shallow world of Hollywood, it was possible to remain real. As Keanu continued to balance blockbuster roles with smaller projects, he carried with him all the lessons of his past, the instability of his childhood, the struggles of his early career, the pain of his personal losses, and the joy of simple living. These experiences made him someone audiences could not only watch on screen but also admire in real life. This chapter of his journey, the years of The Matrix, his generosity, and his rebirth through John Wick, revealed the depth of his character. Keanu Reeves was not just surviving Hollywood, he was redefining it. He showed that in a world driven by ego, it was possible to be successful without losing one's humanity. His story was no longer just about an actor playing roles, it was about a man living with honesty, grief, and compassion, and inspiring millions along the way. As the years passed, Keanu Reeves reached a point in his life where he was no longer just a movie star, he became a symbol of humility, resilience, and kindness. People all around the world admired him not only for his films but also for the way he lived his life. His journey had been filled with tragedies, yet he never allowed those moments to turn him bitter. Instead, he chose to keep moving forward with gratitude and compassion. Part 5 of his story is about his legacy, his outlook on life, and the impact he continues to make on millions of people today. Keanu's later career surprised even Hollywood itself. After the success of John Wick, he once again became one of the most recognized names in cinema. Sequels followed, each one bigger than the last, and fans were thrilled to see him bring the character to life with so much depth. What made the role special was not just the action but the emotion. Keanu's performance reminded people that grief, love, and perseverance were universal feelings. Audiences connected to the story because they felt the sincerity he carried inside. In many ways, John Wick became a reflection of Keanu's own journey, someone who had lost so much but still found a reason to keep going. Even with this new wave of fame, Keanu remained the same man he had always been. While other stars lived in luxury, he continued to live simply. Stories circulated of him riding the subway in New York, smiling and chatting with strangers, or walking through airports without bodyguards, carrying his own bags. Paparazzi often photographed him sitting alone at small cafes or parks, enjoying a sandwich or a cup of coffee without any sense of needing attention. Fans were amazed that one of the world's most famous men could still live like any ordinary person. What touched people most were his countless acts of quiet generosity. He continued donating large sums of money to hospitals, schools, and research programs, always without attaching his name. Crew members who worked on his films often described him as one of the kindest people in the industry. He took time to learn their names, treated them with respect, and thanked them personally for their work. When stunt teams put themselves at risk for action scenes, Keanu always made sure they felt valued. He often said that films are never made by one person but by a team, and he lived by that belief. Outside of work, Keanu also found joy in creating art in other forms. He published books that combined his poetry with photography, showing a more intimate and creative side of himself. He also co-founded a motorcycle company, Arch Motorcycle, which allowed him to share his love of bikes with the world. For Keanu, these projects were not about money but about passion. He wanted to create, to express, and to connect with people in different ways. Another part of Keanu's later life that inspired fans was his openness about struggles. While many celebrities painted perfect pictures of their lives, Keanu admitted to his challenges. He spoke honestly about grief, about loneliness, and about the importance of appreciating the present moment. In interviews, he often reminded people that life is short and that every day is a gift. His words carried weight because they came from experience. He had endured losses that many could not imagine, yet he carried himself with dignity and hope. Keanu also reminded the world about the value of kindness in everyday moments. Videos and stories of him holding doors open for strangers, giving away his seat, or patiently taking photos with fans spread across the internet. Unlike many celebrities who rushed away from the public, Keanu always took time to show respect to the people who admired him. These small gestures meant more to fans than any blockbuster movie. They saw in him someone real, someone approachable, someone who understood that fame did not make him better than others. In recent years, Keanu's image has become almost legendary. People call him Hollywood's last good man, a title that reflects not only his career but also his character. While many in the entertainment industry have faced scandals or controversies, Keanu has managed to keep his reputation clean, not by being perfect but by being genuine. He does not seek attention, yet attention always finds him because of the way he lives. What makes his story so powerful is the balance between darkness and light. His life has been marked by deep sorrow, the loss of his father, his friend River Phoenix, his daughter, and Jennifer Syme. Yet alongside that sorrow is his light, his generosity, his humility, his love for art, and his respect for others. He is a reminder that even in the face of suffering, it is possible to remain kind. That balance makes his legacy more inspiring than any award or box office record. Keanu also represents hope for people who feel out of place in the modern world. In an era when fame often comes with pride and greed, he shows that it is possible to succeed while staying grounded. His story tells us that true greatness comes not from wealth or attention but from the way we treat others. That is why millions of fans feel such a deep connection with him. They see not just a star on the screen but a human being who understands their struggles. Today, as Keanu continues to work on new films and projects, his influence goes beyond Hollywood. He inspires people to live with humility, to find joy in small things, and to carry kindness wherever they go. His life story teaches that tragedy does not have to destroy us, it can also shape us into stronger, more compassionate people. For Keanu, grief may always be a part of his journey, but so is hope. In the end, Keanu Reeves is not remembered only for his roles in The Matrix or John Wick. He is remembered for the way he has lived with quiet strength, endless generosity, and a heart full of compassion. His journey shows us that even in a world full of challenges, it is possible to remain true, gentle, and good. That is why, when people call him Hollywood's last good man, it feels true. His life is not just a story of fame but a story of resilience, kindness, and humanity. And so, his documentary story closes not with the image of a star shining in the spotlight but with the image of a man walking quietly among us, humble, thoughtful, and endlessly inspiring. Keanu Reeves has shown the world that greatness is not measured by awards or money but by how much love and kindness we choose to give. His tragic life has become a lesson, and his legacy will continue to remind people everywhere that even in darkness, goodness can shine.